Hello everybody, it is Al Knight and it is Brony time, and welcome back to Paula Justice, Ace Attorney. Yes, that's right, I am back after a week. Persona 3 Reload has dropped, so I probably won't be recording as much of this as I did last week, but I definitely hope to at least finish Paula Justice today. So, when we last left off, we were in the trial 7 years ago. And we are cross-examining Valent. Yes, a younger Valent. We're playing as Phoenix, so we're seeing what the deal was about this trial 7 years ago. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final blow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed, I would think. This fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Gramarye, is guilty. If it wasn't Zach Gramarye, then the killer was you, Valent. No disappearing act will get you out of that. So going in the room, I did not imagine my fellow student. Get a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death sweet kiss I gave to the clown. So you, wait a minute, you shot the clown. There were 2 bullet holes at the scene. One in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you? No doubt my partner Zach has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. Better dig around here a bit more and see what I can turn up. Mr. Valen, let me ask you about something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, the number of pistols. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zach and Valent quick-draw shoot-'em, correct? 1 for each of you. You are well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. What did Zach tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam, Alakazing, Alakubin. Is the number of pistols really so important? It's quite important. Number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do but obey? We know for a fact there were 2 pistols there, because each only has 1 bullet, so it couldn't have fired. 1 pistol couldn't have fired twice. Objection! According to the defendant, Zach Gramarye, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2? One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Valent told us? Valent. Sorry. You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Valent. Valent, god dang it, why do I want to say Valent? Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. If it compares the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from this gun. Excuse me. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Mr. Valent, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order, order, order! Well, this is all rather sudden. What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that two of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only provides the type of guns that fired them. But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning. I'm still young, and might I add it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took one pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Valent Grammarly. Yes, Your Honor. You were presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you proved to be more divisive than decisive. Objection! You'll see in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. As his next testimony will prove, right, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well, the witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. It was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at the time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. You're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi. It's easy to explain in this situation, Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. The debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff. Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus, and in the time of death determined by the doctors is an incontrivable truth. Very well, the prosecution warned us that we're dealing with rather precise times. We can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customary broad sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Racist remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on. Right. Whenever they give times, always press that. I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time? We do usually only get an estimated time of death, true. Not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic reveals in making the complex appear simple, but really is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. See, another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is for the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim, Magnifi Gravity's schedule. Every night at 11 p.m., Magnifi took an IV drip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the back to the end. Ah, the needle's been removed. Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. Ah, you could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions for our purposes as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determines the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. And so it was when I entered Valent to enter the room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Did that seem important? Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical things of all is the truth. The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When I first entered the room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then his left arm did I spy a rose, drooping and wilted, its thorn the discarded IV needle. Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you, if that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self, for it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magician's Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, I was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy a bust. Ah, what a day that was. This is one trip down memory lane no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed, and that IV too. I say I think 'twas huge especially for me. Valent! That does seem to be the case indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? Valent sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? It certainly sounds like your lucky color brought you plenty of luck. But not this time, Mr. Valent. Your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here. Very well, let's hear the defense's claim. Where's your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us? Because the ivy is green, not yellow. The crime scene tells all, Your Honor. The photo of the crime scene? All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Airlight, just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony? Valiant Grammarly, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes? Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. What's this? Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valiant. Look at that IV bag. Ah! What is this? What foul magic? It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow, and I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. Alaka, no! Order, order, order. What does this mean? This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin, your witness's mistake. The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valiant Grammarly, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can mean only one thing. And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. At a glance, the IV liquid does appear sort of greenish-yellow, but I assure you the liquid itself is quite yellow. Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, as far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like I want to say light blue. Precisely, figured it out yet. Put the yellow liquids in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. I see, your explanation does have a ring of truth to it.
Objection!
As I thought, there's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, How did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Order! Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valent Grammarly, has testified that the IV liquid was yellow because... He'd seen it before. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we see in that photo. He saw the liquid by itself, in a clear, colorless bag. Suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor. I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knows the IV liquid's color? Leaves the getting excited over absolute nothing to our Teen Bumper fans, yeah? The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remained. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body, at which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in. Let me get this straight, Air Wright. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag. Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. Now, wait, I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself say to perform such a task? I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup. I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? He has a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. Don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back to... I just skipped that. Oh my god. Bring us back down to Earth? Valent Grammarly, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Let's ask what you're strongly suggesting. Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic. The victim's syringe, it's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick, and easy enough for an amateur to use. But what kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it. And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valent Grammarly, as you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will. Akaza! I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that while there is no doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, the time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I could squeeze an extra day out of this. I could do a little much-needed investigation work. She there, no objection. Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young, and they'll sweep your feet out from under you. In a way you never ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What is he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the liquid. But there is no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This, I admit, after all. Why linger in the past when the future holds so much? You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin. Proof, Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. What's this? This is the victim, Magnifique Gramarye's diary. Diary? After going into the hospital, Magnifique began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and the meeting of his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that look doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request. Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journals that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? This does appear to have been written just before his death. The court accepts this into evidence. Reads the very last parts with particular care. This journal may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his. He refers to our defendant, Zach Gramarye. That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here, or it may go on. It may go on. Magnifique Gramarye intended to write again. That is, if Zach Gramarye didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. Because Magnifique's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Gramarye. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Gavin, are you certain that Magnifique Gramarye wrote this? There is no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifique did intend to continue his diary. Yet if his diary ended here, which plainly it did, then the one who pulled the trigger was the first Zach Gramarye. Well, how'd you like me now, alright? Still too green for your taste, He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking, but put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case. If the diary is accepted like this, the trial is over. Maybe it's time for me to show something. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary? It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown to the court. Oh shoot, sorry. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Shows evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that diary didn't end with this page. First, take a close look at this diary. Note that page has clearly been ripped out. What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. I don't believe it! Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifique Grammarly. That's the defense's position. Wait! Let me see that. What in Sam Hill? Why, this is a contradiction of the continuation of the victim's diary. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnifique's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Ed Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Grammarly left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valet Grammarly. No. No! The handwriting too matches that on the other pages. This is without a doubt the genuine article. Order, order, order. But wait, that's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that. Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Airlight? Is this what? Presenting solid evidence? Judge. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin? Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness. But Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses. Ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more, I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way, Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway, so might as well be sooner. Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped-out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Very well, and you are the witness, I gather. Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Measham. I'm a painter. Painter, and you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Measham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah. I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh yeah, I mean, I made it. You... What? You made it? Yes, you might call it one of my works. The prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Legal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Gramery. Illegal evidence? I initiated an investigation and found his fitness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Measham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries? Well, so we are to understand that this page here is a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney. Hold it! I didn't prepare this evidence! Ah, the attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix, right? Witness, Mr. Measham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who is your client? That... I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them. But, there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake, huh? To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine. Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to this court, my court. It was careless of me. That's all I can say. Oh, old boy, here. What's this? I don't know, I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important. It was all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright? Yes, do you have an explanation for yourself? If I did, would the court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Fatal too, perhaps, for your clients, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one. Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime. You cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. Your Honor. Another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. You're behind all of this. He's behind all of it. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney? Yes? Could I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright, I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must... Ah, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zack? There's one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I must certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing a verdict when your defendant does not exist? Does it exist? What are you talking about? I am talking about this. Mr. Enigbar! The defendant escaped! Find him, quick! Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That day in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigmar, aka Zack Gramarye, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again, not since that day. This is the Gramarye miracle! Ah ha 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 ha! No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Zack Gramarye vanished, along with him, for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however, but not until 7 years later. Damn. It was a trap. Of course it was a trap. We knew... I mean, Phoenix would never deliberately do that. So the fact that it's, that trial 7 years ago was the beginning of it all. This I knew beyond a doubt. The mysteries of the past worked their magic on the present. But you'll soon be finding all of this out for yourself. Which of Manaphy Gramarye's disciples pulled that trigger? Where did the vanishing defendant Zack Gramarye go? What dark truth lurks behind the forged diary page? And what about the girl who was left behind? The past left us these 4 keys to unlocking the truth. But that's not all. There are 4 keys in the present as well. And when all the questions have found their answers, the final trial will begin. But first you must chase the truth through then and now. Think of it as a game. I, Phoenix Wright, will be your guide through this game. That terrible trial saw me present forged evidence. It ended half-finished when the defendant vanished. What became of me after that? As your investigation proceeds, the answer will become clear. Oh, and one more thing. There's something I must tell you. As Apollo Justice has his bracelet, so too do I have my own weapon of sorts. My Magatama. What does it do, you ask? That I would have you see for yourself. Well now, shall we begin? Use Q and E to jump between the past and the present. But let's begin 7 years ago. Let's begin 7 years ago in the past. It is right after my last trial came to an abrupt end. Now that you know the game, let's play. Haha! I'm doing a let's play right now! Nightmare trial was over. The new nightmare of figuring out what had happened had just begun. I wanted to wake up, to walk away. but I figured I'm the only one who could do this, probably. Besides, I had plenty of time. Thanks to the Bar Association Review Board's decision. It's hard to work when your attorney's badge has been taken away. Oh, morning, Daddy. I'm so glad you came. You okay, Daddy? They picking on you? Ha 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 ha. I'm fine as always. The old boy is here to help me after all. That's young man to you. Good morning, that's a cute outfit you have on. Thanks, my first show's today after all. 2 weeks have passed since then. I called her into my office. Trucy, there's something we need to talk about. It's been 2 weeks since your father disappeared. You need to start thinking about your future. I did some calling around. This is hard to say, but we have no living relatives. So, I was wondering if you wanted to stay with me for a while. Just until your daddy comes home. It won't be long. I hope. Of course, it's totally your choice. If you don't like it here, you can go wherever you like. I could look up some places you might like to stay at. This is so weird. Mr. Attorney, Daddy told me about you. He said I could trust you. Huh? Really? So if I stay here, does that mean you'll be my family? Huh? I guess so. Getting weirder. Mr. Attorney? Actually, why don't you call me Nick? Or you could call me Daddy if you like. It doesn't have to be today or anything. Okay, say Daddy. That was quick. Yes? If I move here, I have to switch schools, right? But I was thinking, I haven't paid for lunches at my last school for a year. So thanks, Daddy. Oh, in this office, it's a little blah. A little color goes a long way, you know. Oh, and Daddy, you got fired from work, right? Don't you worry one bit. I'll work twice as hard. We'll make it through this. Trucy, how old are you? Oh, I'm 8. Don't let appearances deceive you. I'm a young professional. Stick with me and you'll do just fine, Daddy. Thanks. Why does it feel like she's already in charge? My mentor's favorite plant, Charlie. I guess watering Charlie is my only real job now. Wait, I have a child now. I can't feed Trucy like this. She probably needs more than the occasional watering, too, I'm guessing. Talk to me, Trucy. So, Daddy, you got fired for being a lawyer, right? You could at least kind of look aside or something when you say that. It's actually kind of hard for me, for Daddy. Oh, I'm sorry, Daddy. Wait, is that foolish pride? My other daddy always used to talk about that. Actually, that's pretty accurate. So here's my idea. We'll make a new office. Law just seems so stiff, doesn't it? No one will be my friend at school that way. That won't do, I guess. I just don't know how much about anything other than law. Or even much about law, if you were to ask some people. Maybe the problem is calling it office. We should run an agency instead. You mean, like a talent agency? Forgive me for asking, but doesn't that require talent? You've got me, don't ya? I'm a professional. A professional? Yep. After all, I'm directly descended from the famous Zach Gramarye. Directly descended. He's your father. Oh, and now I'm directly descended from the famous Phoenix Wright, too. Like an 8-year-old just massaged my ego. Could you tell me a bit more about your daddy? Or, Zach Gramarye? Daddy? Sure thing, Daddy. Which daddy was that again? Daddy's so amazing. The biggest star of Troop Gramarye. And they're big. The Gramaryes, they were on television a lot. Haven't seen them on much recently, come to think of it. Big magic happens when you put Zach and Valiant Gramarye together, you know. Once they made a giant waterfall right there on the stage. And this giant trout swam up the giant waterfall. Let me guess, there was a giant fisherman waiting for him at the top. I wish I wish I could have seen more of Daddy's magic. I shouldn't have brought it up so soon. Wonder what happened to me with Daddy and Mama both gone. Mommy? Yeah, what about Mommy? I haven't heard anything about Trucy's mother, but I have my magic, and a great daddy, even if he is unemployed. You know, I think things are going to be okay. I wonder if she'll talk about her mother. So, Trucy, you're a professional? Yes, it's like that thing they say. Baby frogs grow up to be frogs. They say that? I always thought it was funny, though. What was? Aren't baby frogs called tadpoles? Maybe they thought it would be easier to understand that way for kids. How stupid. Right, so in conclusion, you're a professional magician, Trucy. That's right. Well, want to see a trick? You're going to do a magic trick. Actually, I would like to see your trick. The future of the agency depends on it, after all. That's the spirit. Ready? Here goes. Ta-da! Hey, folks, it's Mr. Hat. I gotta say, it's good to be seen. Yeah! Whoa, that was startling. The amazing Mr. Hat. Isn't he great? Your friendly neighborhood Mr. Hat at your service. He certainly makes an impression. Doesn't he? I'm so glad you like him, Daddy. Though my routines do get to be a bit heady at times. Get it? Heady! My friendly neighborhood Mr. Hat nearly gave me a heart attack. Could you tell me more about your mommy, if it's okay? Mommy is so pretty. She was like an angel up on stage. On stage, you mean with your daddy? Yep. She was always there with Zach and Valence smiling. But then she went away. Went away? It was a grand illusion, but she made a mistake. She vanished, and I guess she didn't know how to get back. Maybe so. I cried then, a lot. That's when Daddy gave me this, here. Interesting. This is your mother? She's beautiful. Her name's Thalassa Grammary. Poor girl, I didn't know her mommy had gone missing. Now her daddy's vanished too, right before her eyes. Hey, Daddy, you won't... Don't worry, I won't vanish, I promise. Right, you can't even do magic. You're like a backup plan. Daddy always said to have a backup plan. I guess all I rate is a backup plan. I think that's probably enough for today. Sorry to ask you so much all at once like that. It's okay. After all, we're family. I just hope you're ready. The Right Talent Agency opens tomorrow. What? But are we representing anyone? Me and you, that makes two, Daddy. I think you need more than that to make an agency. Besides, you may be a magician, but I'm no talent. I'm sure there's something you're good at. Well, when you put it that way, you mean you don't have any tricks? No old standbys? This will not do. A boy should always have a trick or two in his pocket. Okay, I'll think of something. That's the spirit. See you bright and early tomorrow, Daddy. Welcome to the team, Daddy-o. The team, right. Sometimes when magicians vanish, they leave something behind. That's how Trucy became Trucy Wright, my daughter. To be honest, I was pretty lost those first few days. Thinking back on it, it was a pretty dark time in my life. But Trucy, happy, smiling Trucy, she was my light. And with that completed, we will continue this traipse into the past next time. Oh my god, sorry. Next time on Apollo Justice. Yeah, this is interesting. So it was all a trap, which makes sense, and I believe, Clavier and his brother had something to do with it. I believe they set him up to, lose his badge. Uh, I think that was it. Yeah, but yeah, I really don't know what else to say. I'm just interested to see what comes next, what we're going to discover through this investigation. So, thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content, especially more of Apollo Justice. Also, make sure to share this video far and wide so we can get more eyes on this series. I will see you all next time.